On the NicoleLaw.com talk and text line at 1-877-794-1973. That's 1-877-794-1973.
If I'm in this crummy situation, let's make content out of it.
The Matt Schneidman Show is brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet above the rest.
Never go corporate. Always go local.
With Hunter Baumgardt, here's Matt Schneidman on the game.
Oh, yeah. It's the Matt Schneidman Show, Friday, January 3rd. After 3 long, hard days off, we're back. Are we going to preview the Packers-Bears game? I don't know. Nobody really cares about that game. That's actually something I'd like to know from our loyal listeners. If you're listening with us here on this Friday, January 3rd, how much does this game matter to you on the energy and hype scale? Are you getting up for this game? And when I say getting up, I mean, energy-wise. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you got? Hit us up on the NicoleLaw.com talk and text line, 1-877-794-1973. For me, and I know I do not reflect the spirit or the pulse of the fan base. I'm just a lousy neutral reporter. This game, there's no juice around this game for me. I mean, other weeks it's, okay, the Packers pass rush versus the so-and-so offensive line, or how are the Packers DBs going to match up against these receivers? This week, to me, it just seems, let's just get out of there with a win and move on to the playoffs. The Bears are a sorry franchise. They have lost 10 games in a row. The Packers have won 11 straight games against the Bears. For the Packers, it seems that this is just about entering the playoffs with a better taste in their mouths than they left Minneapolis with last Sunday. Hunter, as a fan yourself, what is your sense leading into this game?
Yeah, if it was the Colts, I think it would be like, not much. But they're playing the Bears, and when LaFleur is undefeated against them, when they won 11 straight, when it's the Bears, one of the best rivalries, if not the best in sports, and you're on one side of it, you always want to win it.
Whoa. As a member of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry, take it easy. Continue. Go ahead.
Didn't I say one of the best?
You did. You did. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely. Yankees Red Sox is right up there. I think you could argue those two, Yankees Red Sox, Bears, Packers, are the.
But as a fan, you're saying there is some juice just because of the opponent.
I think that's definitely part of it. And you want to beat the Bears. You want to beat them soundly. You want to beat them by as much as possible. I think Packers fans are going in with that. However, you have been on point when you've been talking this week on the various shows about the way Packers fans feel about this team.
Oh, I've been going off this week. and let me say this. I preface everything I say with this. I'm not trying to tell people how to fan. Everyone's allowed to fan a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm just offering my perspective on it. And maybe it's because I'm just trying to be a happy person surrounded by good energy.
I like being happy.
But man, you'd think this team is 4-12.
I know.
And I get that some people cope with losses that way.
Sure.
And it's not how they truly feel. Sometimes I'll say fire Aaron Boone or whatever, but it's not how I truly feel. So I get that. But they want Matt LaFleur fired. They want Rashawn Gary not to talk about his Pro Bowl selection. They want Jair Alexander off the team. I saw someone say cut Christian Watson today, basically because someone randomly fell on his knee against the Saints. Let's keep in mind, Christian Watson's recurring hamstring issues, soft tissue injuries, are completely different than the freak injuries he has sustained this year with players randomly falling on him. That being said, we will discuss Christian Watson's status a little bit later, but my point is, I can't tweet anything without people saying, fire LaFleur or they suck. And listen, I'm not trying to defend the Packers. That's not my job. My job is to tell you what's going on about the team, provide context for certain talking points, take you inside the locker room. That's my job as a reporter. It's not to make you feel a certain way about the team. Man, there's a lot of negativity around this team. And I will give the fans this. Entering the playoffs, they have a reason for pessimism. It's possible that if the Packers were to go on a run here, their road to the Super Bowl, however unlikely, would be through Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit, in whatever order. Philadelphia first, then Minnesota or Detroit. You can flip-flop those. So I get the pessimism. surrounding that, given that those are the 3 teams the Packers have lost to. Yes, it's by an average of 4.4 points per game. But I get that fans are like, we're 0-5 against them. We can't beat them. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot. I don't have much optimism going into the playoffs. I get that. So I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jair and Rashawn Gary and Matt LaFleur, it's the reactionary stuff that's like, man, some of these people are just miserable. And I understand, this is the last thing I'll say before I want to give it to you for maybe a more optimistic or level-headed take on the fan base. I need to always remind myself that social media is not real life.
True.
Just because I see a couple dozen comments on social media, that does not reflect the reality of how the fan base feels. I even see some people on Twitter saying today, this is not how it is in real life. Once you leave this app, that's not how people feel. How do you feel about the team going into the playoffs?
I feel good. I have no idea how far they go. I could see them losing in the first round. I could see them getting hot and make it a run. NFC Championship game, Super Bowl. I could. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But the weird part is that on this weekend last year, they were 8-8 and needed to win the last game of the year to get in the playoffs. And it seems like people were way more happy, or not way more, but happier, I'd say, with the team than they are now, which is weird. And I think partly because it was almost a magic carpet ride last year where you didn't expect them to come back from 3-6. You didn't know what would happen after Aaron Rodgers left. There was a lot of unknowns, and the team was the youngest in the NFL like it was last year. And so the fact that they were the youngest team last year and they were almost like, kind of like, oh my gosh, the baby Packers are doing it, kind of that deal.
They're still the youngest team this year.
Exactly. And they're arguably, and I was talking about this with our friend Doug Russell earlier today, they're a better team than last year. They're 11-5 right now, and they've beaten every team they're supposed to beat. Their only losses are to teams that are ahead of them in a really good NFC. So when you're supposed to beat the Bears, you beat the Bears. You block the kick, whatever, you beat them. You're supposed to beat the Saints by 1 million. You beat the Saints by 1 million. You're supposed to beat Colts and Titans with a backup quarterback. You've beaten all these teams that you were supposed to beat. And now you sit here and you're 11-5, you're in, and you go and see what happens Sunday, and then you're in the playoffs. I just don't get the pessimism by fans. But we're also in an age where people like to complain. But it is interesting where we sit, and especially compared to last year, and people seem to almost have less confidence because they're more invested, in the outcome, and maybe they're more a little bit like, well, they're 11-5. They should go on a run. But do they have what it takes to go on a run? And maybe that's what's stopping fans a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's because the expectations were raised. And
yeah,
like you said, the Packers were the youngest team by average age at the start of last season. They were the youngest team by average age at the start of this season. But after the run they went on, you expect them to do bigger things. And yeah, they could very well finish this season 3 games better than they did last season. But last season, they beat the Lions. They beat the Chiefs, 2 of the teams that were in their respective conference championship games, and then they won a game in the playoffs. So it's almost like, okay, yes, we have the youngest team. Yes, we have a better record. But you expect those big wins there. You expect a deeper run in the playoffs. And as Packer fans know, especially after what happened the season after they won their last Super Bowl, it's not always a linear improvement from season to season. Other teams improve too. Other teams get better too. Now, I'm not excusing what the Packers have done. I argued with Doug on Monday's show that you could argue the Packers regressed this year. Not record-wise, not talent-wise, but just how they relate to the other teams in the NFC. And you expected them to kind of really be on that upper echelon. They're not right now. They're a step below those 3 teams because they've lost to all of them. That being said, they still have plenty of time to go on a run here. Well, not plenty of time, but it's still possible. They can still correct that narrative that they are a step below. But what I'm saying is, sure, they can be better on paper. They can have a better record. But at the end of the day, all that matters is what you do in the playoffs. And we know that if they go to Philadelphia next week and lose, it's going to be this season stunk. If they win a game, it's going to be like, okay, well, we want more. You give them a little taste, they want more. some people are always going to be disappointed unless they win a Super Bowl. But I do think there is reason for optimism, especially because, as you said, they haven't been far away in these games. They lost to the Vikings by 2 twice. They lost to the Eagles by 5. They lost to the Lions by 3 once. They lost to the Lions by 10 the other time. And part of the reason for optimism is that it's not like they're getting flat out beat. They're shooting themselves in the foot, and you'd think those are more easily correctable mistakes than, if a team was just flat out beating you. So I get why fans are down on the team going into the playoffs. But I also think that there maybe is a little bit more reason for optimism than I'm currently, sensing in the fan base.
It's weird, though, too, the perspective the Lions and Vikings have given us this year, where they're 14-win teams, when last year you look at the NFC and the best record, albeit there were 3 teams with 12 wins, but had 12 wins, which the Packers with a win over a bad Bears team on Sunday can get to 12. And okay, so let's say they got there, and let's say they had the tiebreaker, and all of a sudden they were in play for the 1 seed heading into the last week of the season. And so I feel like the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings, because they've won so many games this year, have almost altered our perspective on that. But last year, you also talk about, like you said, they beat the Lions, they beat the Chiefs. I get that. They also lost to the Broncos. Who were bad last year. They also lost to the Raiders.
I'm glad you said that.
Tommy DeVito on Monday Night Football against the Giants. So, like, they had some decent wins last year. Yes, they beat the eventual Super Bowl champs at Lambeau. Yes, that's awesome. And those were building blocks for a young team. They also had some bad losses last year. And I don't think they have a bad loss they don't have a bad loss on their schedule this year.
No, and I'm glad you said that. As I was rambling there for a little bit, I had something in my head that I wanted to say, and that's what it was. Part of the reason that the optimism may not be as high this year, obviously, is because they don't have a true bona fide signature win.
Yeah.
And because they're 0-5 against those top 3 teams. But I think it's also worth something. Like you said, they don't have a bad loss. Last year's Packers were susceptible to the trap game. They lost to a Broncos team that didn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Raiders. They, like you said, they had the trap game against the Giants. The game after, they beat the Chiefs and Lions back-to-back.
Yeah.
This year, the Packers just take care of business against teams they have to take care of. They haven't had trap games this year. Yes, they beat the Bears by 1, but they beat the Texans. They beat the Rams, albeit without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They beat the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals, were better than people thought they would be.
Blew out the
Cardinals. They beat the Seahawks when they were still first in their division.
Blew out the Seahawks.
So I think that counts.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't dismiss those games. But, ultimately what matters, and I understand this from the fan base, is that they haven't gotten it done against the teams they'll have to get it done against in January. So that's just what it is right now. Regarding playing time this Sunday, and I'm interested to get your thoughts. They're going to play this game to win. That's what Matt LaFleur said. They're treating this like every other game. What's at stake is obviously the number 6 seed. And they would never say it in front of microphones, but they want the 6 seed because going to LA or going to Tampa is a more favorable matchup than going to Philadelphia. You can get beat by any team. I understand that. But gun to your head, you'd rather visit the Rams or the Bucks than the Eagles in the wild card round. The Packers have said in front of microphones this week, we don't care who we play. I get that. They have said the reason they want to play as if everything was normal in this game is to put a good taste back in their mouth after the Vikings game. Tucker Kraft said that this week. Basically, we got to get that out of our system. Mm-hmm. I'm paraphrasing there, but, get that performance out of our system. Matt LaFleur said there's value in playing and playing well. He also said, we only have a certain number of guys on our game day roster. We have a fairly lengthy injury report, so it's not like we have the luxury of just resting guys. And then, of course, the unspoken one is we got to hope Mike McCarthy beats the Commanders and that we beat the Bears. So they're not in a position, and they haven't earned the right to rest guys like the Bills, like the Rams have. So they're going to play as if they win. And Matt LaFleur has said it this week, and I agree with this. The right call is whatever works.
Yeah.
If they play all their guys and then lay a stinker in Philly, it's, oh, you should have given them a rest. If they don't play all their guys and then lay a stinker in Philly, it's, oh, they got rusty. You should have played them in the finale. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's, what does your gut say? And I do think there is value to maintaining good habits, keeping that momentum, keeping that rhythm. And like Tucker Kraft said, just put something good on tape after Minnesota.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And Josh Myers was talking this week about just wanting to get that bad taste out of their mouth. And I think that's a big part of it too. Regarding playing time, I think you start everybody, and then, hey, if you play well, hopefully it gets out of hand by mid-third quarter and you could pull some guys, like I feel like that's part of it too. I think they'll be quicker to pull guys than they were against the Saints. I get it that Josh Jacobs was pulled pretty early in that second half against the Saints. But Jordan Love stayed in, I think, into the fourth quarter against the Saints, if I remember right, just into the fourth quarter, or late stages of the third quarter, if not. So I think he gets pulled earlier if it's a 3-score game, and I think you should. But I think you start everybody and you see what happens. There is the other, like, way back in my mind that says, well, what if someone gets hurt? But that's also a risk every day in practice. So that's a little tough to do. But again, I think you play at least a half and then see what the score is but you're in an optimal situation where you're playing a team that has nothing to play for, and you're playing a team that's bad. I mean, the Bears are just a bad football team.
They are bad.
I mean, bad football team. So you should be able to do what you did at the Seahawks, do what you did to the Saints, and go out and dominate a bad team, get a big lead, and take your guys out, hopefully in the early to mid third quarter. And then wait for the next weekend when you play an top NFC opponent.
And look, against the Saints a couple weeks ago, they took Josh Jacobs out and rested him.
Exactly.
I could see something like that happening. And that doesn't mean they're not playing a win and playing their guys. If they look up on the scoreboard and see Commanders 35, Cowboys nothing.
I was going to ask you if you think that game factors in really when it comes down to it on Sunday.
I don't know. Like, if it's 35-0 Commanders and the Packers are up by 7 in the third quarter, do the Packers just put in their backups because we're getting the 7th seed anyway, or do they play to win? And if someone gets hurt, is it, oh, well, you should have taken him out? Like, that's the thing with this. You can't win.
No.
Matt LaFleur is going to get criticized regardless of what he does.
No.
Because if it works out, they're going to be like, well, you didn't have to do that. You probably could have gotten away with playing the backups. It's a lose-lose situation for him, I think. Bottom line is, they want to win. Nobody's talking about, well, I mean, Matt LaFleur's not talking about the 12-game winning streak, but that's got to be important too. I know this rivalry doesn't mean as much to some guys because they're new to the team, and it doesn't seem like much of a rivalry, like Keyshawn Nixon has said, because the Packers have won 11 in a row. But it still feels good to beat the Bears 12 times in a row, I'd have to think. So that's got to be in their back of their heads. But I do think just the sense around Green Bay Twitter and Packers Twitter is that there isn't much thought or worry being put toward this Bears game, and that the anxiety is being put toward a potential trip to Philadelphia. And we'll know by about 3 p.m. Central Time where the Packers are going. 3 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, where the Packers are going for the wild card round. I will have my flight booked probably by the fourth quarter of the Packers game because I expect them to be up big. And then if the Commanders are up big, which I expect them to be, actually, no, I picked the Cowboys plus 6.5 on the football feast last night. So I might just have to book my flight until after both games are done. But I will have my flight to Philadelphia, I'm assuming, booked by Sunday afternoon at some point.
Well, and the wild part is if they...
Actually, I won't know what day the game is, though.
That's true. Yeah, you won't until Sunday night. They'll announce that probably during late Sunday night football.
Yep.
Or just after. So the Buccaneers play at noon, but the Rams play at 3:25. So let's say the Commanders lose and the Packers win.
Then we got to wait.
Right? Because if the Rams win, are they the 3 seed? Is that the scenario there? Because I know the NFC South is also up for grabs.
So the Rams are resting their guys this week. They're resting
they are.
Nakua, Stafford, and Kyron Williams. They're starting Jimmy Garoppolo. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams are let me just pull up the standings here real quick. Rams are 10-6. Bucks are 9-7.
With a loss and a win by Tampa, the Rams drop to the 4. So if the Rams win, they're the 3.
Right.
But if Tampa is going to win against the Saints, you would really, really think at noon. So
if I'm Sean McVay, so he's resting his guys. So he's saying it's fine if we lose, pretty much.
Yeah. So
he doesn't care if he gets the 4.
There's a possibility the Packers go to Tampa there in that.
Sure. Yeah, there's a possibility. But what I don't understand from Sean McVay is if you're obviously they still can win. Who do they play? The Cardinals?
Yeah.
Obviously they still can win.
No, they play Rams play the Seahawks.
Rams play the Seahawks. Okay. So you're saying, oh, we're okay with a loss. But if you slip to the 5, you're playing
4.
Detroit or Minnesota.
Right.
And wouldn't you rather play Green Bay or Washington than Detroit or Minnesota?
You'd think.
So I would play for the 3. But then again, I'm not one of the most successful head coaches in recent history. So what do I know?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, that's very true. It is interesting how different these different coaches handle it differently. Like the Rams are going to be a home, they're going to have a home playoff game. So they're like, well, that evens us out. Maybe they feel like a little more. I don't know. We got some good texts we'll get to on the other side too.
Yes. Let's get to a quick break here on this Friday, January 3rd, our last show of the regular season.
Woo.
We got playoffs next week. And by the way, I'm going to bring this up in the next segment. So let's get to a quick break here. Stick with us.
Tease.
It's the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game.
Move out of this town, baby, west to the sand. It's all we talked about lately. I packed a car, bring your guitar, and Jane for smoking.
I think they've had a lot of adversity. Certainly, if you look at the last game we played against them, it was a finger away from them winning. And they've lost, I want to say it's like 4 or 5 games by a possession. And they've had a lot of heartbreaks. I mean, the Commanders game earlier this season, certainly the Detroit game on Thanksgiving, the Seattle game last week. I would fully expect them to come in here and play their best ball.
Stop it. Stop it.
Not a
I'm not
believer.
falling for that. Matt LaFleur said before the Saints game, the Saints could easily be 9-5.
Yeah.
And they go out and beat them 34-0. I get it, and I respect it. It's coach speak. Enough. Now, the Bears did only lose by 1 on a blocked field goal at the last second last time. That was a Bears team that was still in the hunt. That was at Soldier Field. I'm going Packers 31, Bears 17. Could the Bears win? Sure, but I don't expect them to. Trey Lance will play significant snaps for the Cowboys this Sunday per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. So the Packers got to rely on Trey Lance to beat the Washington Commanders. Good luck, fellas.
Yeah, good luck, fellas.
I wanted to show you this. I don't have it hung up yet. I'm going to have it hung up on my wall this weekend. My lovely mother, who I was able to see in Minneapolis, she got me this for Christmas. And I need to make a trip to the store tonight, which I'm going to do after this show to hang this up on the wall. Watch this. I'm going to stand up, take my earphones out so I can show you.
Here we go. I'll broadcast to everyone at home. He's lifting up it's a Matt Schneidman show banner. Wow, that is fantastic. That is great. Oh, that's going to look really good behind you.
A Matt Schneidman show flag. For those of you who are just listening on the radio, you're like, what is going on?
I tried to give him play-by-play as you stood up.
Massive Matt Schneidman show banner flag that my mother had ordered through Team Apparel here in Green Bay. And I'm going to have it hung up on the wall back there. This is my office in my, I guess I can still call it a new home since it's less than a year, but Team Apparel had it done in the colors of our show logo. I've had a blank white wall this entire year on this show in my home, and I'm excited to add to that. I will have that up on the wall for playoff time.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's a nice new addition.
Totally. It's perfect for that wall behind you. Wow. Well done. Well done.
Should we get to the injury report for the game, or should we go to the talk and text line?
Let's go to the talk and text line here.
Okay.
And then we can get to the injury report for sure. Got some text coming in here. Tyler from Playa del Rey says, every game I'm pumped 10 out of 10 level. Only get 17 of these playoffs if you're lucky. Plus, it's the Bears.
You know what? I've been getting on these negative Nelly Packer fans. I appreciate that. Some good energy there on this happy Friday. I like that.
Absolutely, for sure. He also continues, if Evan Williams and Javon Bullard don't get hurt against the Lions on that Thursday night game, they win that game. Packers are missing 5 starters and lost 2 more in the first quarter last Sunday against the Vikings. Evan Williams and Cooper weren't even in the rotation week 1 against Philly. If healthy, this team can beat anyone.
I agree. You can play the what if game for a lot, and we have. Yeah. But other teams can play the what if game too. And
sure,
that's fine. But we go Philly. It's on a crummy field. Braden Arvison misses a kick. Who knows what happens at the end of the game if the Packers are down 2 instead of 5, and they just need a field goal to win. Against the Vikings. In the first game, they missed 2 field goals, lose by 2. They just got beat against the Lions. Well, the first game against the Lions, they had 6 drops, a bunch of pre-snap penalties. Jordan Love's awful pick 6, botched snaps. They beat themselves that game. There was too much to just say, what if this?
Yeah.
There was just far too much that game. Second game against the Lions, you mentioned the injuries, Christian Watson's fumble. I mean, all these things happen. It's not like you can just erase them. These things happen to every team. All of these teams are better than the Packers. I'm not excusing that. What I'm saying is the Packers aren't far off. And I want to tease this a little bit and use this quote. I sat down with Xavier McKinney for about 25 minutes today for a story I'm writing on him next week. That'll be out Wednesday on The Athletic. But something he said to me that probably won't make the story is that they truly believe inside that locker room that there isn't a team they can't beat.
I agree.
I don't blame them.
I believe that too.
I don't blame them. But look out for that story next Wednesday on The Athletic.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure to talk about that next week. On the Matt Schneidman show as well.
Yeah. I talked to McKinney's mom yesterday. She was great.
Oh,
Talked to his high school coach, bunch of teammates and coaches. So hopefully people enjoy it.
yeah. As he's selected as the lone starter, Packers starter in the NFC for the Pro Bowl.
I wonder if he'll be a first team all pro.
Could be. Could be.
We'll see.
I liked what I think it was Halfley said yesterday. He was asked about his interceptions, not having as many interceptions the second half of the season. He said, well, you see anybody throwing over there at him?
Sometimes. But
Sometimes.
I get his point.
But yeah.
His point stands. Yeah.
Yeah. He's made an impact, a big impact this year on that defense. Ivan, listening to us in Wausau on 93.9, says, hey, Matt, best observation ever is social media is not real life.
Uh-huh.
He puts in the word booyah. Do you know the Green Bay has a team named the Booyah? Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that baseball?
Yeah. Northwoods League, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I did know that.
Yep.
Ivan,
Confirmed by
you're
David
right.
Gasper.
Just because what'd you say about David Gasper?
He's in here watching the Badger game. He's got the Badger postgame show tonight, and he's confirmed that the Booyah. He was a former Northwoods League announcer, David Gasper. I'll have
okay.
you know. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You want to know something funny?
What?
So
Now it's
I
time
got
for
into it a
Booyahs.
little bit with like a Lions fan account on Twitter this week
Okay.
because, and this is just a tangent I'm going off on. Ivan, you're absolutely correct. Social media is not real life, and I need to do a better job of realizing that.
Yeah.
So when the Pro Bowl rosters came out this
Mhm.
week, and Xavier McKinney was named the Pro Bowl starter for the NFC at free safety,
Mhm.
and Kirby Joseph did not make the team. Our Lions writer at The Athletic, Colton Pouncey, tweeted out a quote from Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, basically saying, I think we all know why Kirby Joseph wasn't voted to the Pro Bowl. Kirby Joseph was not a backup. He was not a first alternate. He was a second alternate, despite leading the league in interceptions by 2.
Yeah.
The Pro Bowl voting, for those who are unaware, is comprised of 1/3 fan voting, 1/3 coach voting, 1/3 player voting. Kirby Joseph won the fan vote at free safety.
Wow.
Xavier McKinney was number 2. Kirby Joseph, more fans voted for Kirby Joseph at free safety than Xavier McKinney. Yet Xavier McKinney was named the starter for the NFC at free safety. Kirby Joseph was a second alternate, didn't even make the team. So I just tweeted that out as an observation, not because I feel any type of way positively or negatively about
Sure.
Kirby Joseph, not because I'm saying he's a dirty player, although some people around the league and in this Packers locker room and in the Packers head coaching chair clearly think that. I was just saying, it's interesting that coaches and players clearly don't like this guy. And sure, do I have the numbers of all the votes in front of me? No. But if you win the fan vote and don't make the team, guess who's not voting for you? The coaches and the players. So I tweeted that out, and you'll see what I'm getting to here. And this Lions fan account just eviscerated me. Basically, like, I'm trying to find it here. Basically saying, your Green Bay media swear word, SHI, you know what, on Kirby Joseph is their Super Bowl this year. Glad you got that comment in, Matt. Hope it made you feel better. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when people accuse me of being, not objective and being a fan. I'm not a fan. I don't care who makes the team. I don't care if Xavier McKinney or Kirby Joseph makes it.
Mm-hmm.
This Lions fan account kept going at me. And I went back and forth because sometimes I just can't help it. Basically being like, it's a fact that coaches and players don't like him.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not making an opinion-based statement. So I click on this account, and in the bio of this account,
Oh boy,
it says run by @JamesNahikian. And that name sounded familiar. So I clicked on it, and he is followed by several people that follow me because James Nahikian was a broadcaster in the Cape Cod Baseball League when I was interning with the Cape Cod Baseball League after my freshman year of college. So when you said Dave Gasper was a broadcaster in the Northwoods League, another collegiate summer baseball league,
yes,
I was thinking that I got into it on Twitter with a Lions fan account run by someone I used to work with.
Wow. Taking a shot at you.
Multiple shots, but that's okay. I can handle it.
Wow.
Fans are allowed to feel however they want.
They are.
He wanted to defend the honor of Kirby Joseph.
That's
more power to him.
Yeah, more power to him. But yeah, I mean, social media is not real life is a very good observation. Ivan goes on to say, just waiting for them to play a game or 3 like that Cowboy playoff game. Young guys are learning. Third place schedule next year. What do you think?
Yeah, third place schedule is great.
Yeah.
They play the third place teams in the NFC West, the NFC South, and the AFC West. So that will be the Denver Broncos, the Arizona Cardinals, and either the Panthers or the Saints. So yeah, it's great to win your division, but it's also great to play third place teams next
playing
season.
the long game. They're just playing the long game. Ivan also says line play seems to be on the upswing. Position seems set. Center Myers as well. I like his play. He's gutted it through some things. Teammates love him. I think he stays. What say you?
Yeah. Myers means a lot to this team. And I know ultimately it matters what you do on the field. And he's been up and down in his Packers career. I'd say more up this season. But he was just voted the Ed Block Courage Award winner, which is the biggest award any team gives out. It's voted on by players, and it's given to a player who displays courage on and off the field. It's the highest award any team can give a player. And Josh Myers lost his dad to lung cancer. Packers.com said in their interview with Josh Myers yesterday during training camp at 59 years old. So Josh Myers went home for the funeral during camp. A couple members of the organization, including Jordan Love, went with him to that funeral during camp. He's battled through multiple injuries this year while only missing 1 game, and he's played well on the field. So if you win that Ed Block Courage Award, as voted on by teammates, you mean a lot to the team. Josh Myers means a hell of a lot to this football team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to count for something in free agency. He's a second-round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth-year option. His rookie contract is up after this year. Could they find a cheaper center that they already have on the team or through the draft? Yeah. But I'd like to think maybe he's in a similar category as John Runyon Jr.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Myers is a little bit more likely to stay in Green Bay.
I think so. I would agree with that statement. I think he is a little more, the chances are a little higher there. Brian on Facebook says, just tuned in, was wondering why Love or the Packers don't do more rollouts, play action with the tight end coming across the middle.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. The play action rollouts with a tight end coming across the middle. I'd have to watch back the tape. I don't know how many of those they do.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not happy that the Packers aren't utilizing the middle of the field as much.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they will. You know, it is interesting. Luke Getsy, who is a former Packers offensive quality control coach. He was the wide receivers coach for Devontae Adams when he took off in the league here in Green Bay. He was the quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers during his last 2 MVP seasons in Green Bay. I'm sitting outside practice today in my car, waiting to go into practice, and I see John Dunn, the tight ends coach, Connor Lewis, the assistant quarterback coach, Adam Stenovich, the offensive coordinator, and one other coach walk in. And it's normally Luke Butkus, the offensive line coach. Those 4 walk to practice together every day. Sometimes Jeff Hafley's with them. They walk across the street from Lambeau, across Oneida Street, and then into the Hudson Center. And I looked today, and it's Luke Getsy with them, or a guy I thought looked like Luke Getsy, and it turns out it was. Former Bears and Raiders offensive coordinator, his 2 stops after he left Green Bay. He was very successful in Green Bay. And what Matt LaFleur told us after practice, and I say it's made me think of this because someone on Twitter tweeted me, Luke Getsy should just write, throw over the middle on a big whiteboard when he gets into the facility. So that's what made me think of this when we were talking about throwing over the middle. Matt LaFleur said after practice that Luke Getsy is called the mayor around the facility. He obviously has a lot of good relationships around there. And much like Robert Saleh has been helping out the offense, Luke Getsy has been helping out the defensive side of the ball with an offensive perspective for weeks now. This is just the first time he's been in Green Bay. So all the fired coaches are getting consultant jobs with the Packers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Robert Saleh and now Luke Getsy. Let's take a listen to what LaFleur had to say.
Who? Yeah, he right now, like, really, this is the first week he's been here. But he's been working with us similar to how Salah's working with the offense. He's been working with the defense. So it's good to have him back around. He is known as the mayor around here. So he's got a lot of long-lasting relationships with a lot of people in the building. And he's just a positive guy to be around. So it's been good.
There you go. Yeah, like you said, they are bringing back these guys and you think Luke Getsy, you think offense, you think Robert Saleh, you think defense. Well, they're switching because they're trying to give that different perspective to LaFleur.
Just friends hanging out with their friends.
Yeah,
Luke
pretty
Getsy's
much.
bored. Robert Saleh's bored. Come on down, fellas.
Let's get around a table and talk Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
guys got stories, I'm guessing.
Let's dive into the injury report real quick. The final injury
Yes.
report of the week for the Packers and Bears. 5 players listed as out for the Packers. And I asked Matt LaFleur earlier this week, with injured guys, will they err more on the side of caution this week and maybe be more cautious considering they got a playoff game next week? Yes, they're seeding at stake, but how will they kind of handle injuries? Matt LaFleur said that they'll be mindful is the word he chose.
Mhm.
Overly cautious or more cautious? No, he said, we'll be mindful. But that's another way of saying, yeah, if guys are dealing with something, they ain't playing. So that's just my read on it. 5 guys who are out. Jair Alexander, obviously, he's out for the season, most likely, as Matt LaFleur said. I don't think we had a chance to discuss that on the show, but everyone's discussed it already. You don't need to hear us rehash that. Zane Anderson out with a concussion that he sustained on kickoff coverage against the Vikings. Andre Dillard out with a concussion he sustained in practice 2 weeks ago, I believe. Quay Walker out with the ankle injury he suffered in Seattle. He is walking around better in the locker room, and he doesn't have a boot on. So that's a sign of progress. And then Evan Williams out with the quad injury he sustained in Seattle?
Yeah.
Or
was it before that?
Was it in Detroit?
Might have been Detroit.
Might have been in Detroit. And then, I think it might have been in Detroit. And Matt LaFleur said they hope to get him back for the playoffs. And then Devontae Wyatt was a full participant in practice all 3 days with a concussion that he sustained in the Vikings game. I forgot to ask this today. I don't know if he's still in the protocol because you can still be a full participant in practice and still be in the protocol, I believe. So we'll see if he is available for Sunday's game. And then 2 guys questionable, Christian Watson and Brenton Cox. Brenton Cox did not practice at all this week because of a foot injury he sustained in Sunday's game in Minnesota. And then Christian Watson with a knee injury he suffered against the Saints when Alontae Taylor, their corner, fell on him awkwardly out of bounds at the end of that 14-yard run. That was almost a touchdown. Christian Watson did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Wednesday was a walkthrough, so it wasn't an actual practice. Matt LaFleur said yesterday, in order for Christian to have a chance to play, he's going to need to do something on Friday. He was a limited participant, so there is a chance. Matt LaFleur said he'd be a game-time decision, although I'd be surprised if he plays. There is value in getting out there, shaking some rust off so that your first game in a couple weeks isn't a playoff game in Philadelphia or LA or Tampa. But at the same time, Christian Watson's played enough ball. I tend to think they rest him this week, Hunter.
Yeah, I think so too. I would be surprised if he does indeed play. We got to get to a break here. I know you just talked about Jair. We do have an interesting question when it comes to Jair on the other side to get to from Mike in Milwaukee, giving us a text. So we can get to that on the other side.
Okay, Mike in Milwaukee, hang on. We will get to your question in about 5 minutes here. We got a little bit left here on the Friday, January 3rd edition. This is the Matt Schneidman Show right here on The Game.
Get jazzy on.
Wrapping up here on the Matt Schneidman Show, Friday, January 3rd. Packers-Bears week, although maybe not with the same luster as past Packers-Bears weeks, although there are some fans still fired up. It's the Bears. Packers are going for 12 straight, but I think there is an eye toward the playoffs next week. We will find out on Sunday when the Packers play.
Yeah.
Where the Packers play. It could be one of three teams, the Philadelphia Eagles, who the Packers will play if they get the 7th seed, and that is the most likely scenario. If the Commanders beat the Cowboys, the Packers will go to Philadelphia. If the Commanders lose to the Cowboys, but the Packers also lose to the Bears, the Packers go to Philadelphia. Eagles have already locked in the 2 seed. If the Packers win and the Commanders lose to Mike McCarthy and Trey Lance, we have learned, then they either go to Tampa or LA in these 3-6 matchup. So a little bit left to be decided. But the Packers, as I said, going for a 12th consecutive win under Matt LaFleur against their arch rival Bears. Now, Hunter, we had, let me say this because I haven't done this yet. Iron Jock.
Please
We've been
tell
so
us.
caught up in Packers
Yes.
Bears week. I got to give some love to Iron Jock.
Please.
New year, new you.
Let's go.
And Iron Jock can help. Now through January 12th, buy $50 or more of the best performance apparel on the planet and take 30% off your entire order with promo code NEWYEAR30. NEWYEAR30. And if 30% off wasn't enough, Iron Jock will throw in one of their antimicrobial workout towels for free. Go to ironjock.com for details. That's ironjoc.com now through January 12th.
There
To
you
the
go.
talking text line we go.
Yes, please. Let's go to Mike from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And he says, Matt, do you get offended when LaFleur lies to you in the media when he says Jair will have surgery when Adam Schefter tweets minutes later that he already had the surgery?
I don't think it was a lie. Now,
Okay.
when Aaron Rodgers lied to us and said he was immunized, maybe he didn't lie, but he knew what he was doing.
Right.
Do I take offense to that? Do I take personal offense? No.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what he was doing. Now I do. I didn't in the moment. I don't think Matt LaFleur was lying. The question was, does Jair need surgery or will he have surgery? I forget the exact phrasing of it. Matt LaFleur said yes. Did he clarify Jair has already had surgery? No, but I don't think it was something where Matt LaFleur was intentionally saying, well, we're saying he's going to get surgery, but he's already had it. There isn't a difference. It doesn't matter. Surgery is being had. Surgery was had. Whatever. It happened on Tuesday, the day before Matt LaFleur announced that Jair would most likely be out for the season. So do I get offended? Definitely not in this case. And even if Matt LaFleur purposely said, oh, he'll have surgery next week, and he already had it, it doesn't really matter to me. Guys lie to us up there all the time. They're not paid to tell the truth. If these coaches and players were hooked up to lie detectors for every press conference, those things would be beeping off the chain. It's just a lot of the things that they say can't be proven lies. These players saying they don't care who they play. They don't want to go to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur saying the Saints could be 9-5. Matt LaFleur saying the Bears are a really tough team. Come on, get out of here with that.
It ain't true. It ain't true. Yeah. I think they are able to, and they're so used, especially head coaches are so used to the media. They're so used to getting these questions. They're so used to how to answer questions without necessarily answering the questions. So they get good at it as time goes on. So I think that's part of it too. But good question there from Mike. That sums up the talk and text line. You know, it's interesting. I was just going to say, you were talking about the where the Packers might go in the playoffs. One of my hobbies is to predict the schedule of the playoffs. And it was, I predicted the week 18 schedule last week before it came out. 13 got humble brag, 13 of the 16 I got right.
I was actually doing this in the locker room today, predicting what the wild card schedule would be.
Exactly. Isn't it fun? It's fun.
So let's do that.
Okay. Well, I think the Texans are absolutely locked at 3:30 Central Time on Saturday.
100%.
If they aren't in that game, I don't know what I'll do.
Houston, Pittsburgh is the 3:30 Saturday game. So there's
100%.
2 games Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday.
Yes.
Houston, Pittsburgh, Write this down.
Yeah.
Get a piece of paper,
Okay,
Hunter. We
all
got
right.
a minute and a half left in the show.
Yeah, we do. We're going to have to do this quick.
Okay. Houston-Pittsburgh Saturday afternoon game.
Okay.
I'm just going on current playoff seeding.
Yeah, okay.
Saturday night game.
Yep.
Denver and Buffalo.
Really? You're going to go 2 AFC?
I'm going to AFC.
Denver and Buffalo.
Is it normally not 2 AFC?
Well, sometimes, a lot of times they'll go AFC, NFC.
Okay, so let's go AFC, NFC.
Well, okay, so now this is going to put me under pressure with the time here because Denver, Buffalo. Who else are we playing? Like, who else are the seeding matchup? Green Bay, Philly, Washington, LA.
Yeah,
right?
Tampa. I think Tampa, Minnesota is the Monday night game.
Ooh, I like that.
I think Philly, Green Bay is the Sunday late afternoon.
3:30, right? It screams 3:30.
And then Baltimore, LA, the Harbaughs are Saturday night. And then that would leave Washington, LA Rams. But that's in LA, so that wouldn't be a noon game on Sunday.
No. I wonder if Tampa, Minnesota would be a noon game.
And then Packers,
Philly at 3:30, and then you have the other AFC game as the Sunday night game. Washington, LA, sneaky Saturday night game.
Okay, so let's go Washington, LA, Saturday night.
Okay. Tampa Bay, Minnesota, noon. Green Bay, Philly, 3:30. The Sunday night is
Baltimore, LA Chargers.
And then Denver and Buffalo on Monday.
No. Yeah. That was a disaster.
15 seconds left. Have a great weekend.
We'll be back on
everybody.
Monday. Have a good weekend.